Okay, so here is our audience. We have 19% of public authorities, 10% of network of islands and islands associations. Project developers and investors are 19%, consulting company advisors 26%, and other. Welcome everyone, 26% of other. Welcome everyone to this first webinar. My name is Augusta Clérisse. I work for R2M Solution. I'm part of the NESOI team, and we have here with us today Andrea Martinez from SINLOC Project Coordinator for NESOI, Cristina Boreto, also from SINLOC. We lost, I think Cristina doesn't have her camera, but she's coming back soon. Oh, there she is, Cristina. Carola Bosio from R2M NESOI team as well. Francesco from Rina Consulting, working with us, and our special guest, Giulia Serra from DG Energy. So we are here to welcome you. And Andrea, would you like to say some words, welcome words, please?
Yes, thank you very much, and welcome everyone, and thank you for participating to the first NESOI webinar. I would clearly like to welcome Giulia Serra, Policy Officer from European Commission, DG Energy Unit C2, that will bring her welcome words, but also contribute to the messages on policy development, which we expect to carry forward with this project. I would also like to thank her for accepting our invitation, and I would also like to thank Manuela Conconi from AENEA. She's our project officer. She's not on the panel, but we know she's in the room, in the virtual room. We would prefer to meet you all in person, and we look forward to do that in the coming months. In this digital professional phase, we could pretend that we are on Peter Pan Neverland Island today. So we are on an island. It's a virtual island, but let's hope to be on a true island soon. The European Island Facility is a key valuable tool to accelerate energy transition and to favor a successful implementation of the new Green Deal policies. This is what NESOI, European Island Facility, is about. And it's about also sustainable energy models, but it's also about, and principally about, we think, resilient local development models in remote and challenging regions and places. This is relevant. It was relevant a few months ago. It's even more relevant in a post-COVID environment. And so we think NESOI can be an activator of strategies and projects for sustainable development of island communities at large. The facility is an opportunity and comes in a time of opportunities. It is an opportunity because it's something that should help islands and will have to help islands to grasp what the, let's say, world offers in terms of diversified range of cost competitive technologies. So there is an opportunity, a technological opportunity today to decline and adapt to the specific projects, the change of law, which are in process or will be promoted by the European Commission in the coming months through the implementation of the policies, which will favor innovative project setups and management models. And so there is also this opportunity. And it's also about the opportunity of capturing multiple and abundant sources of finance. We are at the eve of the MFF 21-27. We are in a historical moment where there is a lot of private capital about, which is seeking sustainable investments. we are in an historic moment where SRIs, socially responsible investors, are increasingly declining their way of working on these projects. So we have 3 opportunities, maybe even more than 3 opportunities, and the facility aims at supporting you in grasping these opportunities. The challenge is therefore to convey these enabling factors onto actionable, sustainable, and impactful island projects. The European Island Facility, NESOI, will stand by the islands in this process by providing with approximately 6.2 million euro of technical assistance, half of it in cash, half of it in kind, so in our consulting that we will provide, to mobilize, as I think many of you are already aware, because we are sure you have at least read our high-level documents, to mobilize in excess of 100 million euro and generate 440 gigawatt hours primary energy savings per year and 160,000 kilotons CO2 per year. In the next hour or so, the NESOI team and colleagues will provide you with a more detail of this working. I really thank you for being here, for your time, for your, and also those of you that have responded to the questionnaire. Numerous have responded to the questionnaire, to the survey. I would like to thank you. It's been a very useful output, and I will leave the word therefore to, I think, Clérisse, which will talk about the questionnaire, and I hope you really have a good seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And we have our very important guest today, Giulia Serra, who is here. I'm not sure I'm well pronouncing your name, Giulia, your last name.
Yes, Serra is fine. Good morning, Serra. Everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you for inviting me. I'm really glad to be here today. I'm really glad actually to be part of this project that I see as a new kind of journey to the energy transition, together with our communities, together with our citizens. Andrea, you already mentioned like keywords of this project that are also keywords of our energy transition, of our objectives. Development, sustainable development, resilience, community, impact. Supporting islands in fully exploiting their potential in this context and mobilizing investment in energy efficiency and renewable is indeed key for the European energy transition. Our Green Deal, we refer to it as our growth strategy, is ambitious. We have ambitious climate and energy targets for 2030 and for 2050, and they represent indeed not only a great opportunity, but also a key challenge for local authorities, for communities, especially on island. And we strongly believe that we have to address, and we need to address these challenges together to grab the right opportunities. And indeed, especially now, we are currently facing a huge crisis, and also in light of the recovery that we are already working so hard on, we need to work together and to collaborate together, because we need to transform long-term ambitions in a concrete and credible set of plans and project outlines. We need to create a valuable impact. We need to create an added value. We need to improve our way of life, our citizen way of life, and we need to work on it as a community, together with the authorities, together with local and energy communities, and also together with all the actors and players involved. And so in this context, to conclude, we really expect this project, NESOI, to complement and to go even a step further than other initiatives that we are already in place and that we are supporting as the European Commission, for instance, the Clean Energy for Island initiative set up in 2017. We expect this project to ensure a concrete and valuable support to local authorities, embracing a modern and most of all, socially inclusive and innovative energy system. We need to guarantee that no one is left behind. We need to guarantee to fully exploit the potential that islands have. So that's why I'm really glad to be here today. I really look forward for this discussion that is the first of a series of interactions with all the players involved, and I'm really curious about the results. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. So here is the agenda you have received on email, and just to remind you of the order of how we're going to get you through the subjects. So here's a brief introduction. We are not going to read the whole slide. We wanted to highlight some words, some concepts that we think are very important, and are the introduction for you to understand this first part of the presentation. So the main two ideas here from this screen is the fact that NESOI performs and aims to have a big impact in both European level and island level, and that NESOI has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program. NESOI in time, so with the tech, green tech, you can see where we are today. So we have just finished our survey, and that's the reason why we're making this webinar, to share with you some insights and the knowledge we have acquired during this period. The second step will be the call for proposals. So we'll have a first call in October 2020, where 30 projects will be chosen, and then a second call in January 2022, where other 30 projects will be chosen. And the technical assistance, so I have my colleague Christina, and that will talk more to you regarding that. This is an important slide because it represents the way that NESOI have chosen to tackle the challenge that we had at the beginning. So the methodology we are using here, it's called design thinking, also known as human-centered design. It means that human beings are always in the middle of everything. So by human beings, we are taking everybody, so the islands, the consortium, the investors, the communities, the commission, and always coming back to this perspective and empathizing with all the actors around. So when we first started to co-create the NESOI survey, we didn't have this direct contact with islands, which we are having now. And so we designed a workshop where we could play roles with people that knew islands and people who knew investors, for example, and we worked on this challenge. How might we, NESOI team, understand the island's readiness for NESOI, take existing projects to the next level, and focus on project implementation on the islands? The reason why you see empathize in green is because empathy is really being the heartbeat of this project, and we have to come back to empathy several times, especially now with the COVID crisis, because people, projects, circumstances can be changed from one month to the other because they were changed by the experience they were living, that we are living. So empathy is really something really central in the NESOI survey conception. To present quickly our survey, so this is the look and feel of how it looks online. We have used the EU survey tool, and we had two sections. We have the first section was an island level, really to understand general information from islands, and the second session that was related to projects. This is how NESOI reach looks like today. So this is the image with the countries who have already responded to our survey. And here is how it looks in numbers. So NESOI survey had a large audience. We have 128 respondents coming from 107 countries, different islands, sorry, providing details for 235 projects. So here you can see well that not all the respondents of section 1 responded to section 2, because in some cases they did not have projects. And also an island can answer to the first section talking about the island, and then fill in the second section several times if there are several projects. We have just picked some of the insights to share with you, and this is what I'm going to take you through now. One important information that we would like to share is that the report with the results from the survey has been submitted to the Commission. It is a public document and it will be available for citizens soon. So when we talk about islands planning on energy transition and decarbonation, the insight here is that 59% of the involved islands do not have a strategic plan or energy yet. So this is the kind of information that is helping us ameliorate NESOI more and more. Regarding energy agency support, we learned that in general, islands can benefit from this energy agency support in local, regional, or national level. Regarding the awareness that islands have on public funds, we also learned that islands' awareness on public funds is considerably high, but islands' confidence towards private funds, fiscal incentives, and alternative instruments are still low. Regarding the project's development stage, the majority of the projects are at early stage. So we have 49.4% of the projects that didn't start the planning activity. And we even have all these 22% that are in pre-feasibility study level. These are the types of barriers. So questions were asked regarding different types of barriers that islands can have: technical, public perception, organizational, institutional, legal, procedural, and economic. And the highest percentage that were given from these different questions regarding different barriers were those. So lack of enough skilled workforce, 36%, possible statistical or environmental impacts caused by the project, 37%, definition of roles in the project, legal complexity and or procedural, and no additional own funds available. Some of the NESOI insights coming from the information in a nutshell is that almost all, so we have 91% of the projects that were submitted to NESOI were in need of technical assistance. And this is something that NESOI can certainly provide the support answering to the technical, legal, procedural, and economical needs. A challenge, an opportunity for NESOI support is approaching and investing new sources of funding. This will be a key additional element, and it's our challenge. We also learned that technical terms, acronyms, and complex explanations prevent people from filling in the survey and raising their voices. So NESOI is investing in simplifying the communication, supporting one-to-one with advices, supporting any person having difficulties to answer to the survey or has any other question regarding the project. This is a very important insight, and this image is it's a very known drawing when we talk about human-centered design, when we have human beings in the middle of everything. So everything that is thought, brainstormed, or exchanged inside the NESOI consortium, we always try to look at the idea, the perspective, the opportunity from different perspectives, and from the perspective of the person or the people who will be using or benefiting from that. It gives us a strong capacity to adapt as a group And it was really important because the NESOI survey started, it was developed really during the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis. And empathy is really the heartbeat for us. So some practical examples of how we used empathy to adapt to the COVID situation, for example, is flexibility. The NESOI survey is still open because we received from islands the feedback that islands were very busy managing COVID urgencies and they didn't have time to answer the survey. So we are keeping it open for islands who might have projects that want to share with us. We have this constant reality check. For example, today, after this webinar, you will receive a very simple, small survey asking about COVID-19 impacts in the answers that you have given to us a month ago, if you have replied the survey, or the opportunity for you to reply to the survey. And we are using design thinking to facilitate the common understanding, not only inside the consortium, but also with islands associations. So NESOI is about competition, because at the end we will have 60 projects selected, but we are putting all our efforts in connecting, empathizing, facilitating understanding, so that it is a healthy competition. So here's just showing you the quality cycle we do when we receive a survey, and we can repeat and iterate this cycle as many times as needed, because our best interest for us, for the project, for the islands, is to have good projects that will be able to come to real life. We are started with the survey, this one-to-one on-demand support. It will still work until September 2020. So this is to follow up with questions after the webinars, for example, to fine-tune with the projects who are needing some fine-tuning, or connect people when needed. So we have these 6 supported languages, and one big insight for us in the beginning of the survey is that English language does not cover the rest of the UE. We have Circe, our partner, who has this dedicated telephone and email to receive requests and questions from this part, from the rest of the UE, and we'll put all the best efforts we can to include everyone who has good projects in it. The next slide is to show who are NESOI partners, and I think it's very important because not only we are doing everything is in 6 different languages, but we are also culturally adapting. We are adapting to cultural aspects of each country, of each region. Yeah, sometimes it's not only translation that is needed, but the contexts of islands are really different, and we are respecting these different contexts and using all the intelligence coming from the field from our partners. That's all for me. I would like to call Cristina Boreto from SINLOC.
Yeah,
there you go.
Here I am. Thank you, Augusta. Okay, so today I'm going to describe you the next steps in order to apply to our facility and some preliminary indication about the technical assistance menus we are preparing for the islands. So you have already seen this slide. We are working in several steps. The first one has been the survey. Now it's closed. And it was really useful in order to shape our call for proposal, the eligibility criteria and evaluation criteria, and also the technical assistance menus we are launching in October. Then in the first step, we are going to support directly the islands with technical assistance activities. And I have to say that our technical assistance will be our technical assistance activities will combine local activities and advisory services provided by our consortium. In the next slide, you can see our calls. If you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So I said, no, the previous one. So I said we are going to have 2 calls. The first one will be in October 2020, and the second one will be in October 2021. The total amount dedicated to the first call will be 3.1 million euros, and we are going to select approximately 30 beneficiaries. Then technical assistance activities will be launched and will be activated between April 2021 and April 2022. So the expected length of technical assistance activities will have a maximum of 12 months. Then after this period of technical assistance activities, we are going to monitor the project activation and its impacts. The second call will start 1 year later, and it will be launched in October 2021. We foresee an equal amount of resources dedicated to this call, and we foresee an equal amount of final beneficiaries, which will be selected by the second call. Technical assistance activities for the second call will be launched in April 2022 and will end approximately in April 2023. If we go to the next slide, we can see some basic steps of the procedures and the activities that islands should do when preparing and applying for our facility. So first of all, as said by Augusta, we are going to keep in contact with you and to answer to your question with an help desk service which will last until September 2020. And this will be very helpful in order to prepare your projects and answer to your questions. Then you are going to apply for our facility. Our call will be open from October till December of this year, 2020, and the evaluation results will be available in February 2021. Then the grant agreement will be signed in between March and April 2021. And then, as we have seen, we are going to provide technical assistance activities in 21 and 22. If we go to the next slide, we can see that our work will be always a combination of local experts and local competencies funded by grant funding and advisory services provided by the NESOI consortium. Each final beneficiary will receive a maximum amount of 120,000 euros, and the sum will be combined by 60K of grant funding and 60K of advisory services. The activities funded by grant will work in total synergy with advisory services, and we are going to work in an input-output logic. So this will be described in our technical assistance menus, and our webinars are going to describe you which in much more detail how we are going to work in this input-output logic. So going to the next slide. As anticipated by Augusta, we know very well the status of your projects and the needs in terms of technical assistance, and this was mainly due to the contacts, the useful contacts we had during this month, and to the survey too. We know very well that many projects need some support, some very strong support in the first phases of their activities, so they are still in the no planning or pre-feasibility studies, while other projects have a very high impact, a very high potential, and they are already in the permitting or design phase. So going to the next slide, based on the survey and based on our work, we preliminarily defined what could be the technical assistance menus. They will have a main focus on the competencies of our consortium, which are focused on technical and engineering aspects, legal and procedural competencies, and economic and financial aspects. As now we foresee, but this should be confirmed, as I said, we foresee 4 main technical assistance menus. The first one will be focused on the drafting of energy transition roadmap. The second one will be feasibility studies and due diligence activities. The third one will be the support in preparing tenders and contracts, mainly for PPP procedures. And the last one will be our support in accessing to finance. Then going to the next slide, we can see that quite obviously each technical assistance menu will have different objectives, and we are going to ask you different background information for your project. As you have seen, probably 3 menus are going to work on a project level, while one technical assistance menu is going to work on the planning phase. You can see here first a review of the objectives of the different menus. So when preparing the energy transition roadmap, obviously we are going to help you in defining a roadmap for energy transition. We are going to help you in defining which could be the projects and the indicators to monitor the deployment of your energy transition actions. And we are asking you a strong engagement and local commitment for the plan. Then talking about the 3 menus which are going to work on projects, we are going to support the preparation and analysis of sustainability of projects when in technical assistance menus, feasibility study and due diligence. So we are asking you relevant but still incomplete documentation, while the 2 other menus are going to focus on much more developed projects, which in the first case of support for tender preparation will be, yes, we are going to help you in preparing tenders and contracts, and we are going to ask you that the designing or at least the feasibility studies are completed, and you have a very strong view of the procedures you would like to work on in order to launch the projects. Then in the last technical assistance menus, I said we are going to help you in accessing to financing opportunities. As said by Augusta, this will be one of our main and core activities. And we are going to ask you some detailed documentation about the projects, and this will cover the 3 dimensions, which are technical, legal, economic, and financial. You will find in the uploaded presentation on the website a more detailed presentation of the activities we could support and finance. So what we would like to say today is that we would like you to work on the eligibility criteria and in the preparation of documentation, in collecting useful information about the projects, and obviously keep in contact with us with our help desk. And that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Cristina. So now I would like to give the floor to Francesco Pettianti from Rahina Consulting, thank you, who is going to talk to us about eligibility criteria.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Augusta. So if you can go to my first slide, what I'm going to present you are the eligibility criteria we are working on. They are not 100% finalized, but let's say that we don't expect any big changes in them. So when they will be available in our website and to our channels, you will have them all in a document, which is the definition of the eligibility prerequisites. This will be the official document. Our objective is to have transparent eligibility criteria sufficiently easy to understand and to apply. And therefore, this was the main driver when we developed them, also in collaboration and with the European Commission. In parallel, we are working also on the evaluation criteria. These also will be available before the course will be published. And with the evaluation system and criteria, wants to award the most meaningful project. And for this reason, we will have different criteria in the two phases. So if you can, some of them, today I will be presenting you the eligibility criteria. As you will have the slide and the registration, I won't spend too much time on each one of them, but I want to convey the key messages. So if you can go to the next slide, Augusta, please. The first one has already partially been presented from Cristina before. It's related to the support threshold. We have some thresholds which are 60,000 euros in financial support and the same amount in technical support from the NESOI partners. The reason behind this criterium is there are two reasons. One is mostly related to the rules from the European Commission, but the other meaningful one is that we want to support a fair number of projects with a fair support in our understanding, and this is the reason why, while there is no lower limit, we would expect a project with a size of at least 50,000 euros as a combination of technical and financial support, and with a leverage of around 20. These are not eligibility criteria, but just tips for you. So we can accept a project below these limits, but they have to be really meaningful because these other aspects will be evaluated in evaluation criteria. If you can go to the next slide, Augusta, please. The second criterion is based on the location, which is from one side simple, an island. From the other side, was not so easy to define. From one side, we have a size limit for the island, which is 30,000 square kilometers. So more or less all islands are included there, but we are excluding nation scale ones like Ireland or Great Britain. Of course, the islands of these two states are eligible for NESOI support and NESOI project, but the Great Britain, London, let's say, it's not eligible for it. On the other side, all islands belonging to the member state of the European Union, including United Kingdom, and the overseas countries and territories are eligible. This is very important for us. What is very important for us is that there is no limit to the number of projects that one island can apply for. So an island can apply with more than one project, always reminding the criterion I presented before. The next slide, please. It's about the beneficiary. We are keen to support both public and private entities established in the member state, including, again, UK. Private companies are key in our vision to deploy the project. This doesn't mean that they have to be in every project, but for some projects they are key. But from the other side, we want really an involvement of the island communities, the island municipalities, the island authorities. Therefore, we want, it will be a criterion, local authorities to provide a letter of support for the project, and for sure private companies will have to operate either their own asset or public asset under concession. In this sense, we want to highlight that both single entities and consortia can apply to the NESOI support. and their role should be very clear. But we don't have too many doubts on this. But this was I was willing to highlight that both single entities, so it can be either private or public or PPP, or just consortium can apply. To the next slide, please. About the type of project, we are very keen to see your proposal. What we want to have for sure, it's energy transition related project. In this sense, we have identified some examples. We are sure they are eligible. We are sure that are more than welcome to the NESOI platform, but we don't want to limit to this identified project just because we identified them based on our experience, the answer from the surveys and so on, but we are not limiting our scope to a closed set of project. In this sense, what we want to have, what we will give a priority to with the evaluation criteria is a project with impact on the energy system, meaning energy savings, reduction of greenhouse gas emission, and so on. In parallel, we want to see replicable project on other islands, so a project that potentially can be, well, every project is customized, but a project then that is replicable, it will have much higher potential, in our opinion. And finally, but not less important, we want to see projects which can activate financing, as we want to really finance to go to islands. Therefore, this will be highlighted, as I mentioned, in the evaluation criteria. If you can go to the next slide. Christina again anticipated it. It's about the timing of the project, meaning that we will give our support, technical support. Therefore, we can't accept projects that are that should be executed after the project, the NESOI project ends. And in this sense, this is for an important input that you will have really to clearly understand and present to us a path towards the project execution. In the next slide, I put it here just because you will receive these slides after the webinar. There are a more complete definition of what we mean by timing, but I don't want to go too much into this description. So if you can go to the next slide, Augusta. One other key aspect is the impact of each project. In this sense, we want a project to have a size that is meaningful to the island, and we want project that achieve a positive impact in at least two fields of what we identify as energy transition. So primary energy savings, reduction of greenhouse gas emission, improvement of local environmental conditions, and or mitigation of the energy poverty. Could you please? Okay, thank you. So while the previous slide, sorry, Augusta. While we want to ask you to quantify this impact in a first instance for the eligibility check, what we will ask you is to quantify this characteristic in your proposal. So just to understand if you can apply to the NESOI platform, take a look at them, but in parallel, get ready to describe and to justify this impact. In parallel, we have some exception for enabling technologies based on European Commission definition that will be available again in this document, as all definition that we will be presenting, they will be available in the document. If you can go to the next slide. What I was anticipating, we have to guarantee compliance with EU norms. In this sense, I am not going through all of them, but the idea is that we are indeed in the document, we will highlight the EU norms, laws that we will need you to comply with. And we want you to know that by participating to NESOI call, if awarded, you are potentially subject to audits and control activities by the European Commission. So this is really important, as well as, you were right, Augusta, to the next one. Also, there is the absence of situation of exclusion, which is needed. Again, it's nothing too technical, let's say, in from your side, but it's something really, really important. So if you are already aware of it, of all these laws and norms, that's perfect. If you are not, please take a look before apply to our platform. Next one, please. So the language of the NESOI platform will be English. So all the submission will have to be, and for the proposal will have to be in English. That's because we have to evaluate them in a fair way, and otherwise we might encounter a very big problem if we are representing a fair number of languages with our project, and that's why we are giving support to in these languages, but the proposal will have to be in English, and in parallel they will have to be submitted to through the NESOI platform within the time limits, of course. This is something really crucial, and from one side really easy to understand, at least from our side. If you can go to the next slide, which is my last one, it's about absence of conflict of interest. This is again really important. We are giving you support also in the definition of the project, and but this of course it's clear. It doesn't mean that if we are pointing you in one direction based on the expectation of NESOI, you are granted that you will be awarded from one side, and you should avoid, and we should avoid, any conflict of interest. And in cases that it is not fully avoidable, you will have to notify the NESOI project about it, so that we can take our countermeasures. This is all for me. Everything, as anticipated, will be available on our website, and we will have also a tool to check this eligibility criteria, a simple one, and we are available both today if needed, or through the next days. As Augusta and Christina mentioned, we have many channels to communicate with us. If you have any kind of doubt, we will try to answer it. Thank you.
I just wanted to present this last slide. It's about the next steps, and we will also have some questions and answers coming on here. So we wanted to make these next steps very baby steps until September 2020, for all the reasons we explained about these times that we're living, and we have to adapt all the time. So we are sort of learning on the fly on how we are going to be able to connect to you via webinars and workshops. Today we are having this international webinar. Current June and July, there will be the replication of this first webinar at regional levels. Sorry. So our partners will replicate this webinar, always not only translating, but also adapting to the cultural context of the regions. And then in July, we'll have the second international webinar. This second webinar will present the platform, and we'll have the announcement of the first call. We'll talk more about evaluation criteria and self-check. So it's the same thing. It will be multiplied in 6 different languages in different regions as well. And for this summer, we have what we're calling the NESOI Summer Plan. So the second international webinar talking about the announcements of the first call will be repeated in the second in August as well. So those people who missed the July session can catch up within the August section. And then in September, we have our third capacity building international webinar, when we are going to talk about instructions to fill the call and presentation of the platform, and as usual, the replication also in different languages, having in mind what Francesco just said about the fact that the applications will be in English. So we are giving this assistance, this one-to-one assistance in the best way we can, but the applications will have to be in English. So for the understanding of NESOI, we can assist in different languages, but for the application, we can't. So as we said before, the first call will be in October 2020, and the second call will be in October 2021. I'm going to leave this screen during the question and answers session. So I would like to ask all the panelists to come back and turn your cameras on, please. Thank you very much. So we have received some questions. Carola, were you able to?
Yes, there are, I hope you hear me well. There are several questions, and we repeat, we will provide answers to all of you, even offline. So one first question probably for Francesco, which specific criteria will be used for the evaluation of the project?
Okay, as I mentioned, we are working on them, but criteria will be also based on, if you can go to the slide number, I think it's, well, let me double check. It's about impact.
That way, so you can see in the screen.
Yes, well, we will evaluate the environmental and the energy part, which means energy savings, greenhouse gas reduction, and so on from one side. From the other side, we will evaluate them in absolute terms and in relative terms with the islands. But in parallel, we will take a great look to the financial part, meaning that the leverage, the sustainability of the project, and specifically also this can be based on your specific application, meaning that we are aware that the eligibility criteria, the evaluation criteria will have to be customized based on the type of project you are presenting. So based also on the menus that Cristina provided before. So this will be more clear in the coming months, but in general, we will have an evaluation which is based, as I was mentioning, both on the more technical and energy part, and on the other end, on the financial one.
If I may add, another crucial factor will be time. This facility, as also DG Ener has reminded us, is about making the projects happen, and so time will be an issue, the capability of deploying projects, and obviously this is why we are putting a lot of emphasis, as Augusta said at the beginning in the webinar, because we need to understand in these coming months where you stand and how you can and so how we can work with you to make sure that the project gets going. Obviously there has to be a competitive allocation of resources, but we have invested and we will be investing a lot of time in the coming months to interact with you, to understand where you are and how, let's say, let us assume we were a personal trainer, what program you have to, let's say, use to get fit with the project that gets going.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Okay, so we are reaching the end of this webinar. I think we can have one more question now, but again, this is just the first contact, and now this webinar is to establish contact, and the follow-up after the webinar and the one-to-one relationship with you will be something that we'll be doing really closely. So we could have a last question just to close this section today. And as I told you before, you will receive a little survey so we can understand the impact that COVID had for you. And in the following days, we will follow up via email, answering to all the questions that were sent to us. Carola, do you have a second question?
Yes. The question is, if you are not selected at the first round, can we apply for the next one? And do we receive a feedback from the first round? Maybe for Christina or Andrea?
For sure, you can apply to the second round. For sure, you can. And we will try to provide feedbacks if solicited. Maybe not. Well, it will depend really on how many applications we will have. So we cannot commit to provide feedbacks to everyone. We will think about this. And for sure, however, if there is this type of situation, i.e. that you want to resubmit, we will surely, through the empathic approach, explain what didn't go well.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you to all the panelists. Thank you for all the insights you have shared. Thank you for the attendees. We will closely follow up with you in the following days, and we'll keep you posted for the next webinars and also for the regional replication of the international webinar. So I wish you all a very nice afternoon, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Augusta. Thank you everyone.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.